My name is Natalie, and for a long time, I believed family was everything. I believed blood meant loyalty, that parents always loved their children equally, and that home was the safest place in the world. I believed these things not because they were true, but because I needed them to be. Growing up, I never questioned why my voice was always the quietest at the table, why my opinions didn't matter, or why my mistakes were remembered while my sisters were erased. I thought that was just how families worked. I was wrong. I grew up in a house where love felt conditional. If you pleased my mother, Karen, you were rewarded with warmth. If you challenged her, you were met with silence. My stepfather, Mark, believed children should be seen and not heard, and my younger sister Lily was everything they adored: loud, spoiled, and protected from consequences. I was the opposite. I learned early how to stay out of the way, how to clean without being asked, how to apologize even when I didn't understand what I had done wrong. But because no one else would take care of me. As my 18th birthday approached, I didn't feel excited. Instead, I felt tension in the air. Turning 18 in my house didn't mean celebration, it meant expectation. Expectation to contribute more, to need less, to disappear quietly. Still, a small part of me hoped. I hoped my mother would smile at me that morning. I hoped there would be a cake, or at least a happy birthday. I hoped I mattered. That morning, I woke up early. The house was quiet, cold, and unchanged. No decorations, no cards. When I walked into the kitchen, my mother barely looked at me. She reminded me of chores, of responsibilities, of everything except the fact that it was the day I was born. Lily sat at the table scrolling through her phone, laughing at something I wasn't part of. I remember thinking that maybe tonight would be different, maybe after dinner. But after dinner, my mother called me into the living room. Mark was already there, arms crossed, expression annoyed like I had interrupted something. I stood in front of them, confused, nervous, and hopeful all at once. My mother didn't ease into it. She didn't explain gently. She simply told me I was 18 now and it was time to leave. She said they had done their duty. She said Lily needed her space. She said I was difficult. When I reminded her it was my birthday, she said that made it the perfect day to learn how the real world worked. They gave me 1 hour. I didn't cry in front of them. I didn't beg. I walked to my room, packed clothes into a backpack, left behind most of my childhood, and walked out of the house without anyone stopping me. No hugs, no last words. The door closed behind me, and with it closed the only home I had ever known. Still hoping love would eventually notice me. And that night I packed a bag, not dramatically, not angrily, but calmly, like someone preparing for something inevitable. I left a note on the kitchen table that read, "You never chose me. I'm choosing myself," and I walked out into the dark, not knowing where I was going, only knowing I couldn't stay, because staying felt like dying slowly. And as I disappeared down that empty street, I didn't feel brave or strong. I felt numb, because numbness was the only thing keeping me upright. And behind me, the house remained silent, unaware that it had just lost the child it never truly had. The world did not welcome me kindly after I left. Freedom came with hunger, fear, and nights spent staring at unfamiliar ceilings, wondering if I had made a mistake. There were days when my stomach hurt so badly I thought I might pass out. Nights when I slept with one eye open, learning the hard truth that survival doesn't care about your trauma. It only demands endurance. But I kept going, because every time I thought about returning, I remembered my mother saying Sophie's name without looking at me, and that memory hurt more than hunger ever could. Years passed, and hardship changed me. It carved sharp edges into my softness. I studied during the day, worked at night, failed more times than I succeeded, and learned how to trust myself when no one else would. Success didn't come suddenly, it came quietly, built from sleepless nights and stubborn determination. And one day I looked around and realized I was no longer surviving. I was living, but something inside me remained frozen. Joy felt distant, love felt suspicious, and family felt like a word without meaning. Then 10 years after I disappeared, my phone rang. It was my mother, her voice shaking, fragile in a way I had never heard before. She told me that when they returned from the vacation and found the house empty, they screamed, panicked, searched every room, as if something valuable had been stolen, not someone abandoned. She said they had looked for me, cried for me, suffered without me, and as she spoke, I realized something unsettling. They didn't miss me when I was there. Only when I was gone, I agreed to meet them, not for closure, but for clarity. Walking back into that house felt surreal, like stepping into a memory that no longer belonged to me. My mother tried to hug me and broke down crying. My father looked older, smaller, weighed down by unspoken regret. Sophie stood there quietly, no longer the golden child, just another adult confronting an uncomfortable truth. They apologized, blamed circumstances, blamed money, blamed stress, and I listened until they were finished. Then I spoke calmly, telling them that love withheld was still hard, that neglect doesn't disappear just because it wasn't loud, that choosing one child repeatedly teaches the other that they are disposable. My father said they had no choice, and I replied, "You always had a choice. You just never chose me." Silence filled the room, heavy and undeniable. I forgave them, not because forgiveness erased the past, but because holding on to pain would only keep me tied to it. But forgiveness did not mean returning, because some homes stop being homes the moment you realize you were never safe there. As I left, my mother asked if things could ever be different, and I answered honestly, saying some damage can be acknowledged, but not undone. Walking away for the final time, I felt something unfamiliar, peace, not the loud kind, but the quiet certainty that I had saved myself, that leaving wasn't abandonment, it was survival. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting to be chosen, because I already had been by myself.